I had just had a kid, so my girl was getting off of work at the time, and she's like, "Yo, you gotta come pick me up." And I'm just like, "All right." I get in the car, and I literally hear dun 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 dun, and I was like, "Yo, so I'm gonna get you an Uber. I know you're really gonna be upset, but I have to go back to the studio. I just have this idea. I have to make it."
First things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. For real, you the only father that I ever knew. I get my bitch pregnant, I'ma be a better you. Prophecies that I made way back in the veil. Fulfilled. Listen, even back when we was broke, my team ill. Martin Luther King would have been on Dreamville. Talk to her, nigga.
I was working with Jeremiah at the time, and Jeremiah had just moved to Los Angeles, so he was like, "Man, I'm trying to meet a lot of these new Los Angeles producers." So I called up the first person I knew to mind. I was like, DJ Dahi. So I took him over to Dahi's, and Dahi just turns on me and goes, "You got beats?" And he plays something, and I play something. I'm like, this is turning into like a low-key beat battle. Like, why is this happening right now? And then he plays his beat and just goes for me. So I'm like, oh no, I gotta pull out something out the mystery bag. And he was like, you have to send me that now. I went home and I get that call around 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like, you might want to come over, and Cole's in the background, yelling in the background, and I didn't know it was him. So he just took the phone and he was like, look, you need to come over now. And I'm like, who's this yelling at me? Like, he's like, this is J. Cole.
One time for my LA sisters, one time for my LA hoes.
The creativity process for me, it just hits me. But I know chord structure. So if I hear something that catches my ear or my eye, I'm gonna go in there and spend days if I have to get it to sound identical to that. I started off with a simple synth bass, and then I added like a doubler. We started playing around with some of these percussion sounds. I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm drum heavy very much so, and I wanted to kind of blend a lot of different cultures. So I started with this really huge kick. Then I added the snare to complement it. So then I moved the snare off the grid just a little bit, and then I added the hi-hats to it. And I put a flanger on that and a few other things on there. The kick is just so bold, the snare is so bold that, you want the hat to drive that pocket. I'm a big EDM fan, so I just kind of wanted to mix some concepts together, like, some stutters from the EDM world, but then have a hip hop beat with melodic capability. For me, without the bounce, I don't know the next part I needed to add. So once I had this groove, I already knew what I needed to do, which is pull up this piano and start playing with some melodies to take it away from being such an open, dark feeling. The first melody I added was the piano, because I enjoy playing piano anyway, so I just started playing some different melodies. So as you see, it's like a vintage style piano. It sounds like you're kind of listening to the radio from about 30, 40 feet away. I added a lot more stuff to it to make it even sound furthermore, which I'll show you the actual plugin I used. And then set it more on the radio, and now you have the actual piano. I go to J. Cole's house, I play him this part, and he was like, yo, we gotta have an 808. I'm like, I'm not sure, but we just kept arguing for hours about it. And so this is the bass that I originally intended to keep. I played this in a lower register, and I did bass slides. I then put effects on it on the low end to boost the low end frequencies, to make it hit harder, to bump, because you don't want clashing with your basses and your kicks. Now you can understand why I felt uncomfortable with an 808 also clashing with these other two powerhouse sounds. I'm like, well, where is this gonna fit? When I came over next time, J. Cole plays me this. It was a really actually good idea. I didn't see it coming because he was like, you gotta add the 808. I'm like, no, I don't want the 808. You gotta add the 808. No, I don't want the 808. Fine, come over tomorrow. I come over tomorrow, it's just in there. So I'm like, Okay. So this is what it pretty much sounded like when I heard my bass with J. Cole's 808. With this, I did it in the post-production stage of making this record. I just literally sat in J. Cole's studio and just added all the parts and was like, J. Cole, do you like this? Do you like that? And he was like, yeah, no. So that was one of the sounds that made the cut. So he says, I need birds in it. I just hear birds. I pull up a bunch of bird sounds and I'm really finding this funny because I'm like, yo, I just went listening to like 1,000 different birds. Like, it's crazy. So I finally find this one where I got a stretch of birds like fluttering, it sounded like. And I was like, what if I used them like a hi-hat? It's in pocket. So to do that was its own weird process in itself, which our producers, y'all gotta go through that yourselves to figure that one out. But that was probably the most taskful part of the entire song. Like wow, I flipped birds like a drum machine. This is so funny to me. This is another one of my favorite sounds. It's called, it's an air choir. Just having fun with it at this point, you know. And last but not least, the sound that everybody remembers. Surprisingly, it started off with this sound. I sat in my studio about 15 to 16 hours just making one sound. I'm glad that everybody really liked this melody because this was actually the initial melody that I heard in my head when I turned around and was like, oh, I have to make this right now. The first stage of it was going from sounding the staccato-y way, then I layered it with reverb and delay. But I'm never content until it sounded how I heard it in my head. I was going for an old, almost bugle style, trumpet style horn. That's what it ended up being, was a string to a brass, you know, 18 hours later. So you ended up getting This was one of my most enjoyable experiences making music. I just watched you guys through the process of making No Role Models.
No role models and I'm here right now. No role models to speak of. Searching through my memory, I couldn't find one. Last night I was getting my feet rubbed.
When the album came out, I went straight to Best Buy. I bought as many copies as I could afford at the time. I was just like, yo, you like J. Cole? Here, you can just have it. Just take it. You know what I mean? Just giving them out. It was a joyous experience, man. When it got to Cole, to be able to communicate with him and share my views and to be able to say you argue with J. Cole over a damn bass, like, come on, like, he doesn't have to argue with nobody. Like, I appreciate his artistry a lot, and I felt that he appreciated mine, and I felt that was really the key behind this record, more so than just the music, and it's the process we put into it.
Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. Fool me 3 times, fuck the peace sign.